Hey, what's up, what's up? So today I want us to talk about Absolute Superman, which just came out. Excited to read it, excited to review it on Monday, which is through the Business Daily Africa. My name is Stan, I'm from Africa in Kenya. And I was looking at what they did with Absolute Superman and a particular third scene, and I was like, wait, this feels a lot like my book. Let me explain. Because yeah, it's possible for creative people to have the same ideas in two different parts of the world. Because DC is in America, I'm from Kenya, a random corner in the east side of Africa. Now, 2 years ago, I released Punch's The Olaloh Pus saga, which was my graphic novel, like 122 pages. And now, Absolute Superman has been released. And there are some elements that I saw that felt like they inspired some elements in this DC book. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the character of Soul. It's not a character, but it's more of the character, because now they've made the suit sentient. You know, the suit kind of communicates with the subject. It advises. The suit is there for the character. It serves the character. They can actually have conversations. It can take over when the character is asleep. It kind of is a part of who he is. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now, my graphic novel has the same thing. It has a sentient suit. Now, the sentient suit is not a new idea. We've had Iron Man. We've had so many sentient suits over the years. You know, there's that idea of these suits that control. Even, I think, Dr. Fate is an idea on that, whereby the suit is sentient. Dr. Strange, you have a bit of that. But in this case, we have a suit that is clearly AI that advises the subject. And in my book too, we have the same thing. We have the exact same thing. The only difference is that in my book, the sentient suit is the villain. Eventually, when you get to the third act, when you get to the end of the story, after you've gone through all this political drama, you've gone all through this mystery thing, you get to an end whereby you discover that this so-called hero, the suit is actually the villain, because the suit is sentient. The suit has its own way of life. Actually, the suit consumes the subject. And in my story, the suit kind of controls the subject. You know, the same way that Soul does with Superman, it kind of controls the subject. It talks to the subject. But in my book, the suit does the same thing, but only as an antagonist, because it wants to consume this person. It wants to control our main hero, who's called Leo. It wants to control him and turn him into something that he's not. And luckily he's able to overcome that. I'm going to talk about that later on at the end, because I don't want this to feel like I'm pushing my book. Yes, I'm going to talk about my book at the end, but I'm just talking about some ideas that come from that. So we see Soul as this character as this thing that talks to Superman, advises him, tells him when he's supposed to back up, when he's not supposed to back up. So it's very positive. It's very, it kind of controls him and contains him so that he doesn't get out of control. Now, in my book, we have Marcus, who's driven by literally their suit. It's called their suit. Now, the suit in my book kind of consumes the subject and wants to jump to a different subject once it's done, because it consumes something called the Olaloh Pus. Now, the Olaloh Pus in my universe is the thing that makes you the superhero. It's the thing that makes you the hero of this particular story. And so, the moment you're given the Olaloh Pus, especially if you're given a good chunk of it, it totally destroys your body. In less than an hour, you either explode or just, you know, it totally destroys you basically. So in order to contain that power within you, in order to contain the Olaloh Pus, you need this suit to contain it. Now, what the suit does is that it consumes the Olaloh Pus, the same way that in Soul consumes power from, you know, the sun. So the suit consumes the Olaloh Pus. But once the Olaloh Pus kind of dies out, it starts to consume the host. It starts to consume the person that is wearing that suit, and it gets to a point whereby now it can't like live. It has to survive. It's like a parasite. So it will need a different subject. So in my story, Punch's The Olaloh Pus saga, our main character Leo finds himself in a situation whereby he needs the suit. So that is what basically makes the third act, whereby he has to fight this person who has that suit on in order to get the suit. And when a bit of the suit gets into Leo and discovers that he has a lot of the Olaloh Pus, it transfers itself from Marcus, who is the villain, into the body of Leo. And when it gets to Leo, that's when we discover that the suit is actually sentient, because it talks to him. It tells him, like when he gets injured, it tells him, you're getting injured, I'm going to repair you. It tells him, yeah, you can take this person out. You know, you can take this person. It might seem like a superhero, but we are together in this. I have given you the power to take this thing out. So it isn't, it kind of controls him, it kind of gives him a lot of power. At some point, it totally takes over him, where he goes almost psycho, he almost kills Marcus, but then he comes back to his senses, and sometimes he's saying things that he doesn't understand because he's not in control. So that's why I was looking at Soul and I was like, yeah, this feels like it's slightly inspired by that. And then there are almost some frames that I was looking at and I was like, like when Superman goes supernova, it kind of reminded me of when Marcus goes supernova too. If you look at the hands, the design of the suit, I mean, this is DC, they have a distinct style. I mean, they have those things that look like that in Superman stories. You know, I was like, yeah, this looks good. But when I go to look at my character, especially when the suit takes over Leo, and I'm looking at his hands, I'm also like, okay, there's a clear distinction, but, you know, there's some frames I was looking at when you think of the communication between Superman and Soul is like, dude, you cannot face these people out. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Then I think of my book whereby Leo is having this conversation with this suit, and he's like, I cannot do some things, and then the suit is like, yes, you can, and then he has to like now suppress it, you know, just quiet it and then suppress it. You have a moment of sanity whereby the character is just standing and looking up, closing the eyes and just shutting the noise in his head. And then you have in Absolute Superman where the Superman is leaning down and is coming to a realization with whatever is happening and is cooling himself down. So I thought some things were kind of similar. So, and I'm not saying that, oh, DC, people can have the same idea from two different worlds. I just thought it was kind of, it was kind of close. So that's, if you came here to just learn about that, that's basically why I think that DC actually were inspired or straight out decided, we like this part of this story, we like this idea, let's borrow it or let's copy it and then make it our own, because it's Superman. I mean, who could come out from some corner in the world to actually claim that this is idea? I mean, sentient suits have been there for a long while. Why would a random dude with a small graphic novel that no one is reading come up and say this was his idea? I mean, it's impossible, right? We don't live in that kind of world where people get recognition for what they do. So you can easily just go back to maybe comixology, find those, those small novels that no one is reading, graphic novels, and then pick ideas from that and bring it into DC, and then it's presented like it's, look, DC, we did this. I don't know, maybe that's what happened, or maybe there's actually a creative person who sat down and actually came up with the idea. But I'm just saying that the similarities are just too much. So, with that said, that's all I wanted to say. Now, if you want to learn about my book, I'm going to be talking about my book, because as I said, I did not want this to sound like a clickbait. I did not want this to feel like I was pushing for my book. So if you came here to understand why I was comparing this Absolute Superman to my book, that's it. Now I just want to talk about my book. I just want to talk about my graphic novel. If you're still here, just continue listening, because I can also see a lot of elements, especially when that character at the end, which is clearly Brainiac, is introduced, and I'm looking at a particular character in my book called the Creator. And I'm already seeing things that kind of tie. I'm waiting for book 2, I'm waiting for book 3, Brainiac, and I'm looking at the Creator for my book. They're totally different designs, they're totally different ideas, but the concepts are kind of the same, whereby you have a person looking from the outside, trying to learn new things about what's happening. Anyway, so Punchers, the Olaloh Pus saga was meant to be a political drama. It's just a political drama. We have Leo working for an illegal sect, which is camouflaged as a sports center, whereby the youth come to play basketball, play football. But then under that, we have the leader who is now vying to be a governor. Now, what usually used to happen is that when governors in this particular universe, because it's an alternative universe of Nairobi, wanted to control the masses, they would borrow these young people from this sect to go and cause chaos all over the city in order to favor them. But now you have the leader of this particular sect. He wants to be the governor because he's been serving the governor for so long, but now he wants to take over that. And so now we follow Leo, who works for that person, and he is said to be the next leader of that particular group. And he's told, do not cause any violence, do not cause anything, just keep calm. As you go into the future, because Leo, you're supposed to be the future of this whatever, I want you to keep it low. But now the governor has organized to actually threaten this particular movement or illegal sect. So it sends bombs. They're almost killed at one point, and Leo is like, I need to go out there and find who's trying to kill me because he's threatening my family. Now, that's supposed to be the story, right? Yeah, it's the story of Leo trying to find out who's trying to kill him, and the drama within the governor versus this leader of this sect. It's a very interesting story. It plays off into the political nature of my country. And so, what we don't know is that's Panchas without the Olaloh Pus. Now, the Olaloh Pus comes with the superhero element that is introduced. Now, before I worked on Panchas, I had an idea for a superhero story. The first book, that was supposed to be my first book. It was supposed to be a superhero story. I actually penciled it, inked it, but I abandoned it after I came up with this other idea. I felt this was a very strong idea. It was far more easier working on the second idea than the first idea. So, in the middle of conceptualizing the second idea, something else developed, whereby I thought of, what if the hero from the first book jumped into the second book and tried to change the story of the second book, the Pancha story that we know, into a superhero story, because the second book is never supposed to be a superhero book. It was supposed to be a political drama. So now we have a character from the first book jumping into the second book, who is clearly a superhero character, now trying to mold the story of Leo, the political thriller, into a superhero story. So he comes in with his own elements. He actually fast tracks Leo's story, in that he seeps into the story, pretends to be a particular character who fast tracks Leo's story. So events in Leo's story happen so quickly that Leo gets to discover the person who's trying to kill him by the second act, the beginning of the second act. So from there, the main villain, who is called Marcus, after discovering that, so this was supposed to be the story, a political drama, then he starts questioning the creator, which is basically me, who has planted himself into the story, asking him, is this what you created? Is this why you abandoned the first story? Is this why you took over the first story? So he goes on to kill Leo. He kills the governor, who is the bad guy. Then he kind of thinks that he has killed the creator, which is basically a version of myself within the story. So now he takes over that particular story. So you have the second act, the last part of the second act to the third act, kind of turned into a superhero story, whereby he unleashes something that he came with into the city. So he starts destroying stuff. And so now he comes in as a superhero. He says that this is what the readers, you people, deserve. You deserve a superhero story. You don't deserve a convoluted crime drama. No, you deserve a superhero story. You deserve seeing big buildings being destroyed. You want to see full spread of people punching in slow-mo. You want to see big robotic fights. So he releases this thing, goes into the city, kind of destroys it, and then now he comes in at the right moment as the superhero who saves the day. You get? So, now, note, when he's doing all this, it's because of the suit. The suit is the one that enabled him to jump from the previous book to this particular book. It's the catalyst. It's the one that is actually fueling his energy. It's the one that's fueling his power. But then, by doing that, he kind of got depleted, because it feeds on that thing that he was given that made him into a hero. It feeds on the Olaloh Pus. And so, that suit has been consuming the Olaloh Pus. You can see that he's in a very good form, but deep inside he's like, the suit is actually consuming it, but he doesn't know. But so now we cut back to the creator and the dead governor and Leo, our dead protagonist. Now, fortunately, the creator, who is a version of myself in the story, had a backup plan. So he kind of switches into the backup plan, then he comes back to life and then brings back Leo. But how does he bring back Leo? He gives him the Olaloh Pus. So Leo is given 1 hour to be alive, and is advised that the only way to stay alive, the only way to stay alive for his family, is to go and fight who? Go and get that suit, because that suit is the only way to save him. Because that suit, it's the only way that it can consume the Olaloh Pus and keep him alive, because he was literally dead for a few minutes. But by giving him the Olaloh Pus, the Olaloh Pus was able to bring him to life. But now it will start also now destroying his body because it's overactive. It will kind of compensate by just destroying him, because it just continues growing. If it repairs your heart, if it repairs your lungs, it keeps on just regenerating. And so at one point it's going to explode. So he's told by the creator, who is myself, go get that suit from that guy. So when he goes there, we discover that the creator, who is me now in the story, his objective is just have a proper ending, because now everything has been destroyed by Marcus. So how do you create the perfect ending for the reader? You have to have that action-packed last scene, and that's why he gave Leo the Olaloh Pus. So now you have that action-packed third scene, like a normal comic book. So now you have Leo confronting Marcus, who is in the suit. They have a fight off, and then slowly, the armor discovers that, oh, there's a different subject who has the Olaloh Pus within his system. So if I go into that body, it's much better, because I'll have something to feed on than this other person. So as they fight and they keep fighting, a bit of the suit seeps into Leo's body, and then he discovers that, oh my gosh, this guy has the full Olaloh Pus. And so they continue fighting. Then you have the armor talking to Leo, explaining to him what's happening, explaining to him what the suit is, explaining to him what it can do. For example, there's a moment that he's almost crushed with this particular rock, and then he comes back and the suit is telling him, you need to wake up, you can fight him. I'm the one who made him. I can actually make you too, if you give me a chance. And so it continues that way until now Leo kind of defeats Marcus, and then the suit presents itself and it's just floating in the air, and it's like, yeah, you have me, you can take me, we'll be unstoppable, we'll be invincible together. So it now just comes in, all of it into his body. And now we look at Marcus after the suit has left him, and we find this thin individual, it has been consuming him, it has been eating him. And now Marcus comes back to mind and is like, dude, you need to save yourself. That thing is going to consume you. That thing that was in me is going to eat you, and you're going to end up like me. You don't know what it's going to do to you. So whatever happens at the end, I'm not going to spoil it, but now that's like the third act. And so within the third act, you go now back into Leo going back into his arc about the sect, about him now coming into peace with who he is, what happened to him. You have a moment where he's standing with his smaller sister, because he was fighting all this battle, even with the sect in the beginning, the political drama. All he was trying to do was protect his smaller sister and be the lead of the family. He's supposed to be the lead of this family. He's supposed to be like a protector to the little sister. He also has relationship problems. He's just a normal dude. And so with the events that take place with the mayor and the superhero elements, whatever, he comes now to discover what is important to him, because he's a smaller sister. And so you have a very interesting last segment of the graphic novel, where he's looking at where he used to be, and then just understanding where he needs to be. So that was my story. Am I telling you to go read it? No, I've given you the synopsis. If you've watched this, you've basically seen everything. And I just feel like Absolute Superman might have been inspired by some elements from that book. I just feel that strongly. You can actually see it. And I hope, I don't know what to hope for. I don't know exactly what to want. I just needed to talk about that. So basically that's it. I'll do a written review for Absolute Superman. I'll also do a review like this one for Absolute Superman. So basically that's it. Thanks for watching this. I'm sorry that it was a long video, but I just needed to talk about it, and it's out of my chest. So thanks for watching. Adios.